So we have learned how to go from standard to factored, how to go from factored to standard, how to go from vertex to standard, right? But the only thing that we haven't learned is how to go to the vertex form. The vertex form is one of the trickiest one, right, to go to. There is a process, and the process is called completing the square. I will do a couple of questions. It's not part of your curriculum. I won't be testing you on it, but I'll do a couple of questions just to complete the square. Yeah. I'll go over a couple of these questions, just a couple of examples here. Sharon, she already YouTubed it. But I will go over a couple of questions just to show you how to, in real life, like how do we do it. But there is a way to figure out what the vertex is, okay? No matter what form it's in, there is always a way to figure out what the vertex is, okay? I don't really have to do the completing the square, okay? But completing the square is the real process, is the actual mathematical process. So, what do I know about the parabola? Symmetrical. Good. So it's a symmetrical shape, which means if it's a symmetrical shape, that means my point has to be equally distant, right, from whatever my axis of symmetry is. Okay? So let's say if my axis of symmetry is here, right? And then I have my graph, right? My points have to be equally distant, right? From here to here, they're equally distant. From here to here, they're equally distant, right? That's what symmetry means, okay? And that's the beauty of the parabola, is because it's symmetrical. Now, if you see that the vertex, now this doesn't look like it, but x is the only point that I only have one of it, okay? And we know that it lies on the axis of symmetry, right? We know that the vertex lies on the axis of symmetry, correct? Okay. Now, how can I find the vertex if I have the factor? What does a factored form tell me?
The zero.
The zero. So the factored form show me these points, right? How can I find the vertex if I know the zeros?
Between two zeros.
What's in the middle? What's in the middle? What's in the middle? The axis of symmetry, right? So the axis of symmetry runs in the middle between the two zeros, right? So I can find the axis of symmetry if I just find the middle point, right? How can you find the middle point? If you know 2 points, how can you find the middle point? What mathematical? Add them together and then divide by 2, right? So anytime you're finding something like your middle point, right? You add your two values and then you divide by 2. It gives you your average. It gives you your middle, right? So if I know the zeros, I can find the axis of symmetry. Now, the question for you. This is my vertex, which is H and K, right? What part of the vertex did I just find? H, because the H is my axis of symmetry. It's the x value of the vertex. So I just found H. How did I do it? I added my two zeros, and I divided by 2. Now, if I know my axis of symmetry, which is the x value of the vertex, it's a matter of, to find the k value, to find the y value of the vertex, I need to plug this in for x and solve for y. And then I got the vertex. Okay? So, let's write down the steps. So first step, you're going to find the zeros. And that's if it's in factored form, okay? Find the zeros. Then you're going to find the axis of symmetry. by 2. Is it always going to be dividing by 2? Yes. Then you are going to find the optimal value by plugging in, by subbing the axis of symmetry into the equation, into the x in the equation. And that would give me the optimal value. And remember, that would give me the vertex, which is HK. So if I just want to make a note here that this is the H value, so H is equal to this. And then by plugging in the K value, by plugging in the axis of symmetry, that would give me the K value, right? Does that make sense to you? Now, when I have H and K, I can write my vertex form, no? Because my vertex form is y equal a x minus h squared plus k, right? So I already have H and K, and guess what? A is the same for all three forms. That's why it's called A in all three forms. We did not change it, right? So A value here is the same as the A value here, is the same value as the A value in the vertex factored and step. Okay? So because I already know what my A value is in my factored form, I just have to plug it into the values. Okay? So if I know my two zeros, I add them, divide by 2, that would give me my axis of symmetry. Plug it into the equation, that would give me my optimal value, and here we have the vertex. Questions? All right. The standard form. How can I find the vertex from the standard form?
By the method negative b under divide to a.
This is the
No, this is the
complete.
This is completing the square.
square.
Well, yes, but this is completing this way. We don't do that here, right? Can I do I know how to factor from standard? Do I know how to factor? I know how to factor, no? So all what I have to do is I have to put it in factored form and then repeat the steps that I just said earlier, right? So if it's in standard, put it in factored and then repeat the steps. Okay? Again, I will teach you the completing the square way, but I will not test you.
but that one is easier, no?
Which one?
The negative b under
2a?
divide by 2a.
No, not all the time. This one is easier for this.
Yeah,
No, if we have standard form, it's really easier.
because then you find your vertex
Yeah.
and then you can plug it in to find your yes. But again, it's not part of the curriculum. We have a curriculum that we follow. It's not part of the grade 11C curriculum, it's part of the 11M and the 11U curriculum, but I will just go over it for you. Okay? So for this one, you're gonna have to put factor first. Right? And then follow the steps above. I'm not gonna rewrite the steps. Okay? So factor it, find your zeros, find your axis of symmetry by adding and dividing by 2, and then plug it in. And find your optimal. Now, if it's in vertex form, how can you find the vertex?
By the h and k.
Yeah, it's just as easy as it's H and K. There is nothing you have to do here, right? You You just pull it out of the equation. All right, let's look at some examples. What form is this in? Factored. Factored. What can I find from the factored form?
The zeros.
The zeros. What are my zeros?
2 and 8.
X equals 2. Format, guys. X equals 8. Anyone doesn't know how to find the zeros? If it's already in factored form. Anyone doesn't know? Just to make sure, what you're doing is you're setting each bracket equal to 0, and you're isolating for the x. Huh? You're going to have to do it for both brackets. We're good? All right. Now, to find your axis of symmetry, what did we say we have to do? Add the 2 zeros, and then divide by 2. So to find the axis of symmetry, I have to add the 2 zeros and divide the answer by 2. So that's going to be 5. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 5. So here's what I have so far. I have the first 0 at 2, the second 0 at 8, and I have that the axis of symmetry is at 5. Now I need to know, where is my vertex located? Where's my optimal value? Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Is it down there? Where is it located? Okay? So, I can take my axis of symmetry and plug it into the equation to solve for where my optimal value is. Okay? So, plug in 5 into the equation. Y equals -3, 5 minus 2, 5 minus 8. So that's going to be -3 times 3 times -3, which is 27. Okay? So that tells me that my optimal value is at 27, and then this is where kind of my graph is. Questions?
A is minus b. But graph goes
Down.
Oh yeah.
That's okay. So, what's my vertex? 527. And then if they're asking me for the vertex form, all what I have to do is I have to take my vertex form, which is ax minus h squared plus k, and plug in the information that I've already found. A is -3, x minus 5 squared plus 27, and that is my vertex form. Trust me, this is much easier than completing the square. Yeah? You feel like that completing the square is easier? All right. Now to convert to standard form, you have the option to either expand the original and the vertex form, right? You can do either way, right? Remember, we expand. I personally prefer the factored form. Number 1, it is given to you, so there's no mistakes there, right? In case you've made a mistake here, you don't want to carry the mistake along, right? Number 2, foiling is much easier than doing all of this here, right? So, convert to standard form. So let's do that. I have to expand. So that means I have to FOIL, and that's going to be x squared minus 8x minus 2x plus 16. Stop me if you don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to multiply the -3 in. 1 3 plus 1 squared.
You only have log x equals 0.
That's to find the y-intercept, right? But they're asking, yeah, but they're asking you to convert to standard.
Yes, it's not convert to what it can.
Okay. What's your y-intercept?
Negative 48.
Negative 48, right? Remember that the standard form gives me the y. Sorry, there is not enough room in this whole thing, and it's just because the width. Are we good with that? What form? Standard. So what can I find from the standard form? Which is?
Negative 18.
Oh, this is one y-intercept.
Right? Y-intercept is negative 18. It's asked me to find the zeros, so what does that mean? What do I have to do? Put it in factored form.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm looking for two numbers. Multiply 2, negative 18, and add 2, negative 3. What would it be?
3, 6.
Negative 6 and 3. Yeah. And now I can just literally do x minus 6, x plus 3. So that's my factored form. What are my zeros?
6 and negative 3.
See, I had to take that extra step to factor so I can find the zeros. Now it's asking me to find the axis of symmetry, which means I have to add the two zeros and divide by 2. So that's going to be 3 over 2, no? Leave it as a fraction, please. Don't put it in decimal. You're going to have to work with fractions. They suck. Oh, we have to do it. All right. How can I find the optimal value? Yeah, plug 3 over 2 in the equation. All right, so let's do that. I'll try to fit it here. So I have 3 over 2 squared minus 3 times 3 over 2 minus 18. So I have to do my exponents. I need to distribute the exponent into the fraction. So 3 over 2 squared, that will be 3 squared over 2 squared. Okay? So that gives me 9 over 4. So if I take this, right, that's the same thing as 3 squared over 2 squared. Okay? Distributing the squared. How about for the second one? I have negative 3 times 3 over 2. Negative 9 over 2. When you're multiplying fraction, you have to make sure that you have a fraction in the bottom, and then you multiply top by top, bottom by bottom. Okay? So that's going to be negative 9 over 2 minus 18. How can I add fractions? Common denominator, yeah. So I have to find a common denominator when I'm adding and subtracting fraction. My denominator is 4, 2, and 1. What would be your lowest common denominator? 4. That's going to stay the same because the denominator did not change. How about this one? Multiplied by what? Multiply by 2 to make it 4, right? So anything you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator. How about this? Multiply by 4. What's 6? Okay. 81, negative 81. Yeah, negative 81 over 4. Yeah. So what's my vertex? It's 3 over 2 and negative 81 over 4, right? That's my vertex. And if I want to write it in vertex form, so y equal,
A I know it's 1.
a is 1, right? Because it's the same thing. So x,
Over 2. Negative.
questions? All right. Now, if it's in vertex form, what's your vertex?
2, 5.
Is the vertex a max or a min?
Max.
It opens down, right?
Yeah.
And if you want to convert to standard form, what do you have to do?
4.
Expand. So write the x minus 2 twice. And 4. Then distribute the negative 3 in. So here's what you're going to do.